everybody. My name is Sherry Kane, and I am Dr. Horowitz's life partner and also partner in all of the things we do in activism. And I'm so happy to be here in Amsterdam, so thank you so much for being here today to join us. I also want to thank Sander for putting this together. Give him a round of applause, everybody. So anyway, we traveled from Hawaii, and I get a lot of people who come up to me and ask, well, you guys live in Hawaii, so, doesn't it feel like you don't want to leave Hawaii to come out to the Netherlands? And my response to them is, yes, Hawaii is a beautiful paradise, it's beautiful, but, and so are the Hawaiian people, but if you really live there, you start to understand the politics, and you can't wait to get out. Unfortunately. And even the Hawaiian people today, it's happening just like it happened in the late 1800s against Queen Liliuokalani, the last reigning queen, where she was pretty much locked up in her palace because she decided that she didn't want to give up her land. And they told her, well, if you don't give up your land, we're going to take your government. And that's exactly what they did. They took her government and they locked her up in her palace. They took the land, they militarized it, and they took away the land from the Hawaiian people and forced them off their land. Some of it is generational, and it's still happening today. So if they want your land, they'll come onto your property, they'll get a judge who will, they'll get a judge who will, stop distracting me, Dr. Horowitz. They'll get a judge to sign an order, a writ of ejectment. They'll come to your house with the sheriffs and tell you have to leave your house at gunpoint. And we know from experience, it happened to Dr. Horowitz and I, we had a very large property on the Big Island of Hawaii where we were developing a sustainable living community. We grew our own food. We raised all kinds of animals, and none of them for food, all of them because we like to live a vegetarian, vegan lifestyle. And we don't believe in killing animals for food. A lot of people do, but we took in these animals. I have a heart for them too, which I'll explain to you later. I communicate with the animal kingdom telepathically, and I help heal the energies between them and the humans that live with their pets. And so we'll talk. I have a video channel called Conscious. It's called Conscious Species. It's on revolutiontelevision.net. So if you want to check out my video channel. But back to Hawaii. So we had this large property over there. We had Hawaii's only lava heated steam, saunas and geothermal warm pools, and the mob wanted that property. And they do a lot of fracking, which caused the latest volcano flow that you saw, the fracking by Puna Geothermal. They drilled into the earthquake, into the Earth's surface of the lava, and that caused the earthquakes, and then the lava to flow. And so that's not something you're going to hear on the mainstream media, unfortunately, but that's what happened, and it was in the neighborhood. It traveled. We call her Pele, the lava goddess. She traveled 30 miles under the ground to come to this neighborhood where our house was, and she took out most of the homes, which are wealthy people that were transplants in Hawaii. Really no Native Hawaiians lived in this area. And she then went and made a beeline toward the Puna geothermal plant. And we made a film, which I want to give everybody a free ticket to see. It's online. And once I hand out this ticket, there'll be a website. And so whoever doesn't have one, let me know. Come and see me, and I'll give you a free ticket. Actually, I can pass them around. So you'll see there's Healthy World News. It's a website on there. You click that link, it'll take you to another page. It'll give you a password, and then it'll say click this image, and then you can click the image of the video, and you can watch the video for free. It is live streaming on pay-per-view, but this is a free pass for everyone here today to view this video, which will talk a lot about what happened in Hawaii. People don't realize that, yes, we live in this beautiful place called paradise, but what the price that we had to pay to live in that place, and even just to be activists, has been a long, hard journey. But how can we do anything otherwise knowing the truth? We have to tell the truth to the people. You can't just live with this truth in your heart and not reveal it to everybody what you know. I mean, it's our duty as humans to, I mean, I don't know how people can sleep at night, forcing people to do things against their will, such as mandatory vaccinations, which we made a film. Dr. Horowitz won 2 awards, one in London and one in Geneva. Was it Geneva?
Yes.
London and Geneva. And these awards were given to him for best film. And they basically talk about who's pulling the strings and forcing people and countries to force vaccinations on people. So we made a film called Unvaxxed, a docu-commentary for Robert De Niro. And that film is available also online. We also have a natural health store that supports our efforts, and that website is cureshop.com, and that's spelled CURESHOPPE.com if you want to check out some of our natural health products and support some of the things that we do in the world, along with having products that will keep you healthy and drug-free from pharmaceuticals. We are anti-pharmaceuticals. We believe that there are natural healing remedies that you can find, and every culture has them. The Hawaiian people have them, the Native Americans have them, they have them here in Europe, they have them in every single country. I'm sure if you were born here, some of your ancestors have those old remedies that can cure us or heal us from things that we don't need the flu shot, we don't need pharmaceuticals that you take for your heart, for instance. It destroys your liver or your kidneys because you took it for your heart. And that's what pharmaceutical drugs do, unfortunately. They help you with one thing, but then they destroy another organ. So we have a video channel called revolutiontelevision.net. We were banned from YouTube. Both of our channels were banned in 2014. You might find some videos on YouTube that are available that other people have posted. But when I try to post any video, I get a pop-up, instead of Dr. Horowitz, from YouTube that says, you are unauthorized to enter this site. They have our IP addresses that they control, and that's pretty much how they censor people like us.
And Facebook too.
And Facebook as well, and Wikipedia. His entire Wikipedia page was taken down right before the latest Ebola scare that happened. We have friends and activists over in Liberia, in Africa, who basically told us that some of the people were given the flu shot, and then they came down with Ebola. So we know that there's some very nefarious things going on, and they don't want the people to know the truth. And I know that this audience, I'm speaking to the choir, you all are very conscious people. I hear Sandra tells me our audience is going to be one of the most, and I can tell, I spoke to some of you before this, and I can tell that you are an extremely conscious group, and I thank you so much. So we're going to tell you things today that you might already know, some things that you might not know, and we also have other websites. We have War on We the People that will tell you the bad news, the things that I'm sure you might know. We have another website called 528revolution.com, which is the good news. I'm an investigative journalist. Dr. Horowitz and I both do journalism. We make videos, we make films to get the truth out to the masses as best as we can, being censored. So we have revolutiontelevision.net, which we created after they took our YouTube channels down. We have also vimeo.com/revolutiontelevision. So those channels now, we are not on YouTube. Our personal videos are not on YouTube now. None of the newer stuff anyway. So if you're interested in watching any of our newer stuff, we also have another video that we made recently. It's called ParisAttacksVideo.com, which talked about the shootings in Paris at the Bataclan Theater. We wrote a book, what happened in Las Vegas. It's called The Las Vegas Deep State Massacre. It's an ebook. It's available also on the cureshop.com, CURESHOPPE. I know it's spelled a little different than it sounds. And after this, I would like to have some Q&A so you can ask Dr. Horowitz some questions. I'm sure that you're going to have questions because the 528 frequency is what we believe is going to bring people together. If you've never read the article Musical Cult Control, that was Dr. Horowitz's article on how they created the Rockefeller Institution created the 440 hertz standard tuning in music, and it causes very much dissonance in people. It keeps us separated, not together. And you can see as what's happening in the world together with the news, that it's all about separating the people, Republicans versus Democrats, religions, races, nationalities, and that is all a big circus to us. We don't believe in what we hear on the regular mainstream media. We think that it's one station playing against another. And so we are independent of any of it. We're not involved with any other alternative media. We do our own media. We believe that most of the alternative media that you hear out there, especially that you're going to see and they're going to be given airtime, that alternative media is controlled. They do not give you airtime. They take your YouTube channels down. They do everything possible to censor and shut you up when you're really speaking the truth and you're not playing ball with them. So that is what we've experienced. And then as being activists, we've gone through so much to try to overcome it, but we're still here. And what's helped us really has been 528, 528radio.com. It's free to listen to. It's got several genres on there. If you're in a band and you play music, you can go to 528records.com. You can upload your music to 528records.com and we'll send it back to you free, transposed. If you have an album that's done by another musician, you can upload that music. But any of the creators of this music, they get 60% royalties, so that no other record company does what we do, offers 60% royalties to the originals, creators of the music. You just need to create an account and upload it. So without further ado, I'd like to bring on Dr. Leonard Horowitz.
Thank you. I don't think I need the mic. Can everybody hear me okay? Yeah. That's great. Thank you. And I know I have to stand here most of the time to get on the camera. So a privilege and pleasure to join you. Thank you for coming today. It's going to be an interesting day. I'm going to go into initially how we came up with 528. Where did it come from? And fortunately or unfortunately, many of you in this audience have absolutely no clue. This is the first time that you've ever heard of anything about 528. Some of you are extremely knowledgeable, having studied it for several years as a result of the work that we've been publishing. So it's an opportunity for me to kind of look at, well, we've got to cover the spectrum. And so I'm going to try to do that. And the first part of this presentation, the presentation's in 3 parts pretty much. The first part of the presentation will give you the background about how I became involved with 528. And the second part of the presentation is, unfortunately, how come you're not hearing about 528 and why it is that we have wars, why we have crime, why we have degeneration of the populations, why we have all of the criminal psychopathology that's literally taking control over planet Earth. It's an interesting discussion when we start to look at the musical mathematics. The second part of the presentation deals with the challenge. I would really be remiss. In fact, you and I, as brothers and sisters on this planet, are actually under not only scriptural, spiritual law, required to look after each other as brothers and sisters. So there's also, in man's law, there is what's called a public duty doctrine. I would be remiss if I were to simply deal with the good news, with the great news of how we're going to get out of this mess without telling you the mess that we're in. And much of what I'm going to say, or certainly parts of what I'm going to say, will be new for most of you. And it's pretty challenging. We're in this together. The solution is in the last part of the presentation, deals with 528 frequency and why it is that I feel that this is really humanity's only hope. We've got to open our hearts in love. We've got to understand what that is. And we've got to go on and begin to rebuild the societies and the civilization that has been degenerated, unfortunately, by gross ignorance and criminal psychopathology. So that's what the overview is. I'm privileged to have participated and done some wonderful work with a lot of wonderful people. The 528 Love Revolution is happening. It's snowballing. Whether I get assassinated or whether you're told that I committed suicide, don't believe it. We love life. We love people. We love doing what we're doing. And so you do not believe if you find that it's been told that we're no longer here because we ended our lives. Sherry and I are both committed to living this thing out as far as we can. And because of our commitment and our passion, it has happened. It's globally right now. There's a revolution happening, and it's not simply on revolutiontelevision.net, or it's not simply on 528 Revolution. For example, you had Jay-Z, who is literally a criminally minded hip-hop artist, very famous in the United States, just recently did the 444 album. You didn't hear about this, he didn't tell you this, but Capitol Records, which is a subsidiary of Universal NBC, which is really the deep state. If you want to talk about really demonic energy and what they're outputting to manipulate society, it doesn't get any more evil than NBC Universal. So they just produced the 444 album, and that album is an album that is all produced in 528. They actually tuned to A444. They didn't tune to the standard tuning of A440. So you have Jay-Z who says that, and they promoted it saying, well, it's going to purge his ego. He's going to become a nice person. He's going to stop beating Beyonce after he's had this revelation and this musical transformation. Wonderful. But let's talk about what Dr. Horowitz's work is. Let's talk about where the source of that intelligence came from. We've discovered also wonderful things. Bono from U2 produced in his latest album his dedicated track to his mother, In Loving Memory to Iris, Iris Hold Me Close, produced in 528. We discovered that John Lennon produced Imagine in 528. We discovered that Led Zeppelin somehow produced that wonderful track, Stairway to Heaven, in 528. So all of the musicians and artists, recording artists internationally, are starting to tune to A444, which gives you C528. And I'll show you in a couple of minutes, how we derived that. We are seeing it snowballing internationally. So we're very grateful for conscious musicians. And we also are grateful to conscious healers, because we are the music. And that's essentially where we're going to begin. This analysis that you're looking at is a complicated mathematical sacred geometric analysis of comparing 432 Hertz frequency and the mathematics thereof with 528. It was done by a brilliant genius named Victor Showell. I love his name, Showell. He shows the world well what the truth is, and unfortunately that truth has been suppressed, and not just suppressed, but in an actually organized effort to do us in, to terminate Dr. Leonard Horowitz's credibility, to stop the 528 love revolution. The Pentagon and a man named Jamie Butterf had advanced the 432 revolution, saying Dr. Horowitz is a con artist, that 528 is a demonic frequency, and that you're only to tune your instruments to A432. And when you do that, you're in sync really with nature. Well, here you're hearing it from me. There's nothing inherently wrong with tuning your instruments to 432. But it's not a solfeggio frequency, and essentially it's not the sound that bees make when they're making honey and they're flying around in their six-sided hexagonal-shaped honeycombs. I'll get more into the sacred geometry and the mathematics, but Victor Showell pretty much, in my opinion, terminated the controversy. There should never have been a controversy. What we should have is a research institute where we study the different frequencies and their effects on the physiology and the metabolism of living creatures. That's what we should have, and that's what we would have if there wasn't a suppression of this intelligence, just like they suppressed Nikola Tesla's work. And this has a lot to do with Nikola Tesla's work, because we're dealing with musical mathematics, frequency dynamics, and ultimately we are the music. The image that you see on the screen is a 36-sided star, a 36-sided circle with points, 36 of them. that was done by another genius in the field of cymatics named John Stuart Reed, both from England as well as from the United States. Reed invented the kymograph, and somebody sent John a pure tone of 528, and he played it to water, and that's the image that he took. And he sent it back to me, and he said, Len, this image is extraordinary. I've never seen a kymograph of a sacred geometric form of a circle with 36 pointed star in it. And that's completely consistent with the intelligence and everything that we've been saying. We're claiming that 528 is the heart of the universe. It's the heart of the musical mathematical matrix of divine design. And so this is the image that you see here is what I call, and I've trademarked, as the perfect circle of sound. Originally, there were 6 notes, and I'll show you in a minute how we derived the first 6 notes: 396, 417, 528, 639, 741, and 852. That's the original solfeggio. And I was sitting in a cafe one day and just playing with the numbers, and that's what you should be doing, because we're mathematical creatures. And if you want to expand your intelligence like Da Vinci did and the Pythagorean mystery school mathematicians did, those geniuses back in those ages, they played with the numbers. And the numbers then start to open up left brain, right brain balancing, and you become more of who we really are, not a dumbed down mind control slave of the Illuminati. We become the superhumans that we were intended to be from the very beginning. So essentially, I started to play with the numbers, and I followed, for example, the hundreds column, and they followed a pattern: 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and of course, the next numbers would be 9, 9, 1, 2, 9, 1, 2. Why not 10? Because 10 is a man-made number. In numerology, but also sacred geometry and mystery school mathematics, you only have 9 numbers, 1 through 9. And then 10 is decimal system was created by man. 9 is completion in ancient mystery school mathematics. So that you can follow and you can see that this pattern then gives you in 3 different places the tens column, the singles column, the hundreds column, this pattern, and that's how the perfect circle of sound, which represents, in my opinion and in my conclusion, based on not only brilliant work by Victor Showell, but also other individuals such as who have blessed this particular venue, Nassim Haramein, Marco Rodin, other mathematicians who you may have read about have advanced the musical mathematics, the matrix of the universal construction. So that's, in my opinion, and in fact, I was with Nassim Haramein in Hawaii, in our living room. We held a conference with about a couple dozen physicists and mathematicians where Nassim was presenting and Marco Rodin was presenting. This was about 2 years after we had published the initial solfeggio frequencies. And lo and behold, Marco Rodin's on the board, and he starts to put up his matrix, and he shows you how to create his matrix. And I'll show you a little bit about that in a few minutes. And I was stunned, because here what he's putting up were the same solfeggio frequencies. So it was a confirmation that was a wonderful surprise, and we've been since happy to promote his work, and Rodin's work and Nassim Haramein's work. In essence, what their works show, what our works show, are consistent. It deals with the consciousness movement, it deals with spirituality, it deals with healing, it deals with the most wonderful revelation. The fact is that we are the music. You are the music. As we go through this presentation today, I want you to keep in mind the best definition of who you are. You are a digital, bioholographic, precipitation, crystallization, miraculous manifestation of divine frequency vibration coming out of water. So essentially, digital is a concept of numbers. We all understand what digital is. Bioholographic, we know what holograms are. You're manifesting as a biohologram in a quantum field right now. Every nano instant, remanifesting. The capacity then to apply that in the healing arts and sciences is revolutionary, evolutionary. It's paradigm shattering. Your digital bioholographic precipitation, just like a little nidus of rain precipitates in a cloud, one molecule of H2O combines with another one, and it forms a raindrop and it comes out of the sky. Your precipitation in the same way, coming out of this musical mathematical matrix. Digital bioholographic precipitation, crystallization. Look at every protein in your body. It's all crystals. The water, 80% of your body is by weight approximately water. Water is a liquid crystal. Protein crystallography in science is an advanced field. All proteins are crystals. All viruses are crystals. If you want to whack a virus, destroy a virus, and restore health, you don't poison the being. You don't poison the bioholographic precipitation. What you do is you sing and play music to it so that it re-engages and it goes back into the harmonics that are theirs by nature. So your digital bioholographic precipitation, crystallization, miraculous manifestation. Why do I say miraculous? Because the third note of the original solfeggio, 528, is the miracle note. Do, re, mi, miragistorum in Latin, miracles in English. So you're a miracle. And you're remanifesting every nano instant in this quantum field. You can give, for example, your loving parents thanks for your blue eyes, 4% of which they're responsible for. 96% of your blue eyes is happening now, or brown eyes is happening now, remanifesting every nano instant because of electrogenetics. Sound and light signaling. In the science world, it's called photon-phonon emissions for intercellular communications for cellular upregulation. That literally means that every nano instant, sound and light, photons and phonons of energy are coming into your DNA, which is an antenna to the creator, and then it's sending out signals to these cells all around it, just like you see in a school of fish. You know, you got 1,000 fish swimming all in one direction. Instantaneously, the entire school shifts, and you figure, how did they do that? It happened so fast, it could not have happened chemically. It happened because the water itself is a liquid crystal superconductor of energy. That's why dolphins and whales can sing thousands of miles or hundreds of miles and have their mates and friends and family hear them. Water, liquid crystal superconductor of sound. And then what happens is now the sound and light signals from your own antenna to the creator get sent out to the other cells. And all of your cells then shift into the same direction. I'm going to talk a little bit about oxysilver. Why it is that that's the best antibiotic replacement on the planet. Why it is we don't need vaccines anymore. It's based on this understanding, which is a fundamental understanding of who we are as spiritual beings first. The question is, are you a spiritual being first, or are you a physical being first? Most people, who, especially intelligent people, would say that they're spiritual beings. Well, what is spirit? Spirit is energy. What's energy? It's electrons that are resonating in certain vibration and frequencies. They're spinning and vibrating. So spirit is energy. Energy is electron resonance, and that's what we're made of. Now, the signals come in from nature, just like the trees and the grass is green because of 528, outputting oxygen. The essence of what sustains us, I'm saying, is love. 528. It's so obvious that it's like, wow, how come we didn't see it before? We didn't see it before for the same reason we don't have free energy and Tesla technology blessing the planet today. It's been suppressed. We've been dumbed down. You have been suppressed. You're not just a human being. You are a superhuman being with a divine capability to manifest miracles. That's the truth. Now, what's happened is that we have lost sight of the fact that we're spiritual beings now, and the technology that's manifesting us can be used to heal us, sustain us. So it's not very profitable for the multinational corporations. Now you can understand why Dr. Leonard Horowitz and Sherry Kane and all the other activists who are doing something beneficial for the planet are suppressed. So this concept then of the DNA, taking in the sound and light signals, sends it out, bioholographic precipitation, crystallization, miraculous 528 precipitation of a miraculous result, means literally that's how we should be treating people. And when you take, for example, colleagues of ours who are going to be visiting in a couple weeks in Israel, it's called Ahava 528, Love 528 group in Israel, took this understanding to the Sea of Alat and entered the water, the ocean there, and had about a dozen people engaged in therapy using 528 frequency toning bowls. And what happened? The dolphins came to participate in the healing. It was so successful, and it's on Google YouTube. They posted, it's delightful to watch. It was so successful, they said, this is unbelievable. We've got to do more of this. So they rented the largest pool in Jerusalem, the public pool, and they filled it with about 85 people. And they had a community therapy, hydrotherapy, 528 love healing session. So you can see that on Google YouTube. So this is essentially what we are. We are the music. And it's paradigm shattering. The origin of this material, I have to acknowledge Dr. Joseph Paleo. I really am uncomfortable, to say the least, with the people out there who are using my work, who are claiming it's their work, who are not crediting as an ethical publisher or scientist or person involved in publishing under ethical rules, are supposed to acknowledge their sources. They're supposed to credit them. Many things that you're going to be hearing have been taken and not acknowledged the people who source this material. Dr. Joseph Paleo sourced largely this whole concept of the solfeggio frequency. I'll share a little bit more about Joey in a couple minutes. Actually, well, this is a good point to do it, actually. Joey came to me. My personal story was, I had a beautiful mother who really wanted me to be her son, a doctor. So I went to Harvard. I became very bright. I became an oral surgeon, a periodontist, general dentist as well. And I pleased my mom. I was thankful for that. But my mom, unfortunately, scrubbed the streets at Nazi gunpoint at age 16 when the Nazis came in and in Kristallnacht stormed my grandparents' clothing store, ousted them, and then my mother and her 8-year-old brother was scrubbing the streets at Nazi gunpoint. By miracle, my mother made it out on the last boat that made it out of Nazi Vienna. The boat that was called the St. Louis was the boat that was turned back from New York Harbor. My mom came to the United States just on the boat before that one. And while I was growing up, my mom would say to me, Len, you have no idea what it was like. You can't even imagine what it was like. And I have to tell you that it could happen again anytime, anywhere, in any country. And I was so arrogant and ignorant, I used to argue with my mom, and I used to say, Mom, you don't know what you're talking about. Today we have the media to protect us. I was an idiot. So what happened was that my mother, after I had gotten my Harvard doctorate and I had a Harvard master's degree in postdoctoral studies, and I was on the lecture circuit for the largest dental and medical catalog supply company in the world, one of the largest vaccine distributors in the world, Henry Schein Corporation, and I was their chief professional advisor. I was lecturing all around the country, and I personally trained about 30,000 healthcare professionals between 1990 and 93 in infection control, sterilization, disinfection, waste disposal, barrier protection. Used to recommend vaccinations, the hepatitis B vaccine. And my mom, who went to her doctor, she believed in the physicians. They believed they were medical deities to my mom. She was not involved in natural medicine, and I wasn't able to convince my mother to give it good attention. She took the first swine flu vaccine, 1976, and she, like 10,000 other people, developed Guillain-Barré, progressive autoimmune disease and neurological impairment. And then they put her on meds, immune suppressants, and then a few months later, my mother developed cancer, more drugs, more radiation than treatments, and a few months later, my mother was dead. And I still hadn't woken up to the fact that the producer of the swine flu vaccine that my mother took, Merck Pharmaceutical Company, I didn't realize until after she was dead that they received the lion's share of the Nazi war chest at the end of World War II. And then it dawned on me that the people that she escaped by miracle actually killed her. And so the passion that you see in me is largely dedicated in loving memory to my mother. To please forgive me for being so stupid, because now I do see. When I literally, for example, we just came from Las Vegas, just like in Amsterdam, I see ThyssenKrupp, the main manufacturers of the escalators and the elevators. ThyssenKrupp, which produced the Wehrmacht, the aircraft for Nazi Germany. And I see the Bayer Corporation having just bought Monsanto, all the GMOs. And I know the history, because of now medicine, medical history, of the contaminated blood supplies by Bayer that caused 10,000 hemophiliacs to get AIDS, and they knew it. They knew they were going to be spreading HIV/AIDS because they pooled the contaminated blood. And they made the blood products from that contaminated pooled blood. So all of these little details I finally realized was happening. So what happened was, when my mom died, and I realized this, I started to pray to the Creator. I said, please, give me the Achilles heel. I want the Achilles heel of the Illuminati. And through a series of synchronicities, as a result of my prayer, and at the same exact time, Dr. Joseph Paleo was in northern Idaho. I was in Boston. Across the United States, another prayer was being prayed by Dr. Paleo. Joey was praying to the Creator to bring me Dr. Leonard Horowitz. He had heard me on Coast to Coast, and as a result of that prayer and my prayer, 3 months later, I ended up knocking on Joey's front door for a spaghetti meal. And he is a good Catholic who had gone to the bishop and had gone to the cardinal in the United States to obtain the original solfeggio scale by which the hymn to St. John the Baptist was sung and played. That was the most spiritually uplifting hymn of all the ages. And they would not give it to him. So Joey then prayed to Jesus and said, please show me the solfeggio. where will I find the solfeggio? And according to Joey's story, which is the first 6 chapters in the book, Healing Codes for the Biological Apocalypse, it's completely Joey's story. According to his story, Jesus came in a vision that wouldn't disappear when he closed his eyes. It wouldn't disappear when he opened his eyes. Jesus was standing by an angel, and that the angel showed Joey in the book of Numbers, chapter 7, verses 12 through 83, the repeating series of virtually nonsensical, virtually meaningless and or confusing verses that a normal human being would read and say, I don't understand this. I'm just going to move on to the next part of the Bible. When you do that, you've just missed probably the most valuable secreted knowledge in the Bible that was placed there by the Levitical priests. The ancient Levitical priests, and by the way, Joey first became aware of the alphanumerics of language. The original Torah was all song. It was all music. It was all mathematics. The original Bible. So you go back to the sacred languages of Sanskrit, ancient Aramaic, ancient Hebrew. They were frequency-related mathematics that delivered communications and communion, divine. Divine communion is what 528 resonance and this whole presentation is really about. Joey realized that even, for example, the English language, you know, the New World language, English, came in the 1500s thanks to Shakespeare primarily and the Bible, King James Version. And when you take the alphanumerics, it opens up a tremendous amount of information, and this is Joey's revelations. That A to Z is 1 through 9, 1 through 9, 1 through 8. And that when you start to look at what the numbers of the words are, it's very, very revealing. For example, when you take the multiples of 8, you see 1 times 8 equals 8, and then that would be, let's say, Z, the alphanumerics backwards. When you add the alphanumerics backwards to the alphanumerics forwards, you always get 9 completion. 2 times 8 equals 16, where 1 plus 6 is 7. 3 times 8 equals 24, where 2 plus 4 is 6. 4 times 8 equals 32, where 2 plus 3 is 5. So you see a countdown pattern. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then that added always brings you 9 completion. So there's something funny, but also something very intelligent in its design of this language that is actually Hebrew backwards, alphanumerically. English language is constructed based on these revelations and conclusions. The Hebrew language backwards. Of course, Hebrew is read from right to left. English is read from left to right. It's flipped. Well, if you were the demon, you were Satan, and you wanted to dumb down a Holy Spirit-filled superhuman, what you would do is confuse the language. You would literally resonate that person into a lower resonance. And essentially, that's part of the revelation. Now, the 528 frequency in that sequence, in Book of Numbers, chapter 7, verses 12 through 83, gives you the 396, 417, 528, 639, 741, 852 sequence of the solfeggio. So I'm just showing you here that 528 is the gold in that sequence. There's silver, there's other types of materials and offerings for the temple in that section of the Bible. The gold is in 528. So now we had the solfeggio scale, and we started to play with the numbers, and lo and behold, Nikola Tesla. Last century's greatest genius was not Einstein. It was Tesla. And Tesla ended his life digging ditches. They stole everything from him. They suppressed everything from him. And so he always said, his famous quote was, quote, "If humanity only knew the powers of the 3s, 6s, and 9s, it would be a completely different universe," end quote. And so we begin to look at the fact that all the solfeggio notes are 3s, 6s, and 9s, and this intelligence where we deal with these numbers and encourage everyone to do what I said earlier, start to play with the numbers to open up and balance the hemispheres, opening the heart, connecting divine. That is done best, just like the ancient Pythagorean mystery schoolers demonstrated and exercised. That's done by playing with the numbers. And I give you that in the real Da Vinci Code. The perfect circle of sound that I show you on my back, showed you on the screen, that's the real Da Vinci Code. That's the real Da Vinci Code. Now, you might remember this image on the cover of the real Da Vinci Code book. You remember this image, it's called the Vitruvian, or the Vitruvian Man. Da Vinci was working as a contractor for not just the Roman Catholic Church, but also the Borgias and the Medici family, the wealthiest banksters, the wealthiest war makers. He was a war contractor, war designer, war machine designer. And so he was under a lot of pressure when he created this magnificent piece of artwork called the Vitruvian Man, because he was working for the patriarchal Roman Catholic Church. Highly imbalanced. Actually, it should be called the Vitruvian Woman, because there's a woman behind the man. There's 4 arms, 4 legs, there's obviously 2 people. And the woman exclusively has had the intelligence and wisdom to step out of the box of earthly limitation that the man is stuck in. Her feet alone pierce the square and step onto the circle. And her hands alone pierce the square and touch the circle. The circle, according to art historians, represents the universal connection. The square represents the earthly domain and, unfortunately, imprisonment. Babylon. So these are the revelations that came out of this work that, along with my colleague and good departed deceased friend, Dr. Masaru Emoto, opens a world of wonderful revelation. You might remember Dr. Emoto was the world-class water crystallographer who said that water is conscious. And he showed us the different crystals of water under 20,000 magnification after prayer or after any kind of stimulus. The water would deliver a message. And positive messages gave you beautiful crystals. The snowflake type design crystals. Always the snowflakes are 6-sided. 528. 5 plus 2 is 7 plus 8 is 15. 15. 1 plus 5 is 6. Do, re, mi. Miragistorum, miracles, miracle 6. Miracle 6. Or me 6 or mi 6. You just got how British Secret Service took its name. And so this concept of Dr. Emoto and this is Dr. Lee Lorenzen here, next to Dr. Emoto's picture. And Dr. Lorenzen was the water science mentor to Dr. Emoto and me. And I was sitting in 1998, we had just come out with the book Healing Codes for the Biological Apocalypse. And I'm sitting with Lee Lorenzen for dinner, and I just tell him that the revelation of 528, and it's like he almost spit his food all around. He starts to laugh. He starts laughing. He says, 528? That's the original miracle note of the solfeggio? I said, yeah. He says, we in PhD level nutritional biochemistry understand 528 to be the miraculous healing frequency for damaged DNA. And he says, I put that into my water products. So I said, yeah, that's wonderful. Well, anyway, as a result of this, I actually have, because of my working with Dr. Lorenzen and Dr. Emoto, I am the proud owner of Dr. Emoto's first book on his first night in the United States. It's signed and autographed because I actually opened for Dr. Emoto. And from that day on, Dr. Emoto was purchasing, actually not purchasing, we were giving it to him, the 528 tuning forks that he would go around and he would ding the tuning forks and he would do the chants with people. And he would use those tuning forks to demonstrate this concept of what we're talking about in terms of divine loving communion. Dr. Emoto would take 2 of our tuning forks. He'd have his translator, because he only spoke Japanese on that side of the stage. He would be on this side of the stage. He would then strike his tuning fork, hold it up against his microphone. It would resonate throughout the auditorium, and then he would shut it down real fast, and lo and behold, the translator 20 feet away, her microphone would pick up the sound of her tuning fork, which she didn't even strike. And that's called phase locking in physics. That's also called entrainment, where another example of that is, a large cuckoo clock, with a huge heavy pendulum all of a sudden now synchronizes all the little smaller the pendulums from the smaller cuckoo clocks. Or women that go to a dormitory together in the beginning of a semester. Suddenly, after several months, their menstrual cycles sync. It's entrainment. There's phase locking going on because we're engaged in a spiritual reality. This is a spiritual reality. So all of these issues are coming up largely as a result of these wonderful people's works, and that this was another magnificent revelation from Hartmut Muller from Russia, Russia's top space-time physicist, who studied the scaling, like in music, the scaling of the orbs of the planets, the scaling of the microscopic world and the macroscopic and cosmic realm. That's what Hartmut Muller did. And he actually came out with a scientific paper independently and said it's all manifesting. Reality is manifesting in what he called the N6. The N6, in certain nodes, that's where the manifestation would come into play. And my theory, based on all of this intelligence, is that if you know that the heart of the rainbow and the heart of sunshine is 528 nanometers, and you know that the bees are buzzing at 528 hertz sound, and we know that sound comes before light, just like it says in the Bible. In the beginning, there was the Creator and the water. The water was there. That means water was liquid, crystal, God or goddess. Okay? That means 80% of your body weight right now, approximately, is God or goddess. And that literally that frequency resonance that's taking place inside that liquid crystal superconductor is happening in certain nodes that are manifesting you, just like everything else. We know that the heart of sunshine, as above, so below. If it's true for the heart of the sunshine is 528 nanometers, that means the heart of the rainbow, greenish yellow, is 528 nanometers. Chinese medicine. Heart chakra, greenish yellow. If it's true for the heart of the rainbow, it's true for your heart and my heart, and the Creator's heart. So that's basically the thesis that we're advancing, and it's consistent with all the top space-time physicists and mathematicians on the planet. What's also wonderful is that the concept Muller advanced was that the DNA, just like we've been talking about, is an antenna to the Creator, perfectly designed in the sacred geometry of 528. It's got to be, because everything's circular. I showed you already the circle that John Stuart Reed captured on film, 36-pointed star. There are 360 degrees in a circle. Everything, time, space is based on the circle. Architecture is based on the circle. architecture, archangel, ark of the covenant. Ark is a half circle. It's all the same musical mathematics involved. And so even the DNA, which is all circular, you're shown images of just segments of DNA. That ain't the way it works. In all the organic life, it's a circle. And so literally what you found from Hartmut Mueller's work likewise is that this is scaled. And he calls it the universe as a double helix on a logarithmic line. And so I played with this, and you can read this material in Love, the Real Da Vinci Code, and another book I produced called Walk on Water. The 6 number. Here we are near Amsterdam, where the royal family of England, heavyweights in the financial world. Shell Oil Company. The concept of Phillips 66. Route 66, America's highway. Thanks to the Rockefeller brothers, they created Route 66 number to be America's highways number. This concept, why 6s? Because of 528. And actually, when you look at the icon, the symbol of a 6, it's exactly what we're talking about. You have a spiraling down from heaven into the manifestation of earth. A miracle. Spiraling down, wholeness of earth, miracle 6. So that's part of the understanding of why is it that this is the prosperity key. You're manifesting miracles. The applications of this are seen throughout the commercial worlds. Think about the alphanumerics I showed you a minute ago. A to Z. The 6s in the alphabet of the English language, the 6s are F, O, X. Fox. Oh my goodness. Is that a coincidence? No. They've done over and over again this kind of application. But what did they tell you and I? What did they tell the Christian community? 666 is the mark of the beast. Oh, that's a terrible number. We don't want to have anything to do with that. They've just, again, dumbed us down. There's nothing inherently evil about numbers. They're all the Creator's math. They don't want you to know. I'm trying to level the playing field. I am trying here and elsewhere to get you to realize that you have the same power to manifest massive amount of prosperity as a Rockefeller, Rothschild, or whoever. And so this concept, another great example, do you remember the Pepsi logos? This is Pepsi. Put it in a mirror. Look at it backwards. 1, 2, 9, 3, 9. Atom. It's a 6. Over and over and over again in the icons of the world, we see this over and over again. Anyway, to summarize this first part of the presentation, 528 frequency is pure love, in my opinion and my conclusion. It is the frequency of love. It is linked to the heart of everything. It plays at the heart of the solfeggio. It's fundamental to pi, phi, the golden mean. It's required for space-time measurements. It's paramount to all sacred geometry, because all sacred geometry sources from circles. And it's crucial to 5,280 feet in a measured mile. 5,280 feet in a measured mile. 528. It's crucial to the speed of light. It's central to water structuring. The snowflakes, 6-sided. Organic chemistry. I don't know if I have that here too. Every single molecule in your body that's an organic molecule starts with a hexagonal ring. Without 528, that wouldn't exist. It's key to the beneficent heart of the Creator sustaining us. Key to the house of David. Now, this is really my mission, my personal mission. My Hebrew name is Arya ben Shlomo Halevi. That literally translated means Lion of God, son of Solomon, the Levite priest. So that's why I'm here. I know it's weird. It's really weird if you're sitting in my shoes. But that's my father, his father. This all goes back to Solomon and basically the thievery and the corruption and the sin that was involved in that old story. So essentially, why it is that I'm here to reveal these things is that's my calling. And if I were not doing it, I'd get whacked. I'd get whacked. You know how in your own life, you get these little inklings about what you should be doing or what you shouldn't be doing, and if you don't follow it, you get whacked. And then if you don't listen to the first whacking, you get whacked a little harder. And then if you don't listen to another one or two whackings, you get whacked so hard you leave the face of the planet. It's called death. So I am into life. I want to live. And I've been whacked so hard, so often, and so is Sherry, that essentially, we've got to be here doing this work. So again, thank you so much for bringing us in, Sandy. And it's the key to the house of David. Why? Because what I'm sharing with you is the best news in the Bible, in my opinion. It comes at the darkest times in Earth's history, where there's wars and rumors of wars. Earth changes, weather changes, great plagues. At that exact time in history, there is a sixth angel, number 6, who comes from the city of Philadelphia, brotherly love, and heralds the key of the house of David that opens doors that no man can open and closes doors that no man can close. What kind of doors that we human beings can't open or close? They're spiritual portals. They're spiritual portals. So just like the chakra is a spiritual portal, the chakra of love is a spiritual portal. Opening of the heart with a key of the house of David. Do you remember the story of King David would play his healing harp to his bitter enemy, Saul, who wanted David dead? And he healed Saul with the key of the house of David. He obviously tuned his healing harp to the key of the house of David. And what I shared with you regarding the architecture of the perfect circle of sound and the source of sacred geometry, the Star of David itself, Solomon's seal, is directly related. This symbol on my back is the modern Star of David. It has a sacred energy and a resonance of purity, of divine communion and perfection. The fact that you can see it means that there's electrons entering the windows of your soul, your eyes, and the tears of joy and the values of the heart that include faith, love, bravery, Braveheart, and joy are linked to the key of the house of David. So now you understand the story of my great ancestors. And you understand that this knowledge needs to get out in a big way because we have a lot of healing to do, a lot of evolving to do, and recuperation from the demonic possession and impositions of everything from AIDS to climate change. 528 resonates at the heart of rainbows and snowflakes, I told you. Central to Genesis, light and green grass. Structuring chlorophyll. Chlorophyll that gives us oxygen. Again, it's so simple. Think about this for a second. We're sustained by oxygen, aren't we? Aerobic respiration. Re-spiritualization. Respiration. Re-spiritualization. In the beginning, how did God get Adam off the ground with Eve? Breathe the breath of life. Ha. Aloha. Laughter. Ha ha. Yawning. Ha. In other words, Creator made sure we never forgot that important lesson, frequency resonance of that. And we're breathing that. Why? Because the chlorophyll, which is in what color? Greenish yellow. The plant world gets it. That the heart of the chlorophyll molecule that makes it green is magnesium. It's the same chlorophyll, virtually molecular structure as hemoglobin in the humans. The only difference, the only major difference, is that we have red iron. Plants have green magnesium. Same molecule though. In fact, you can take this knowledge, as many, many natural physicians and practitioners internationally do. When they don't have the right blood, they need a blood transfusion, they use chlorophyll. Liquid chlorophyll does the same thing that oxygenated red blood does. So this whole concept of, we're designed, just like everything else, to be in harmony with nature, and when that chlorophyll molecule is outputting that oxygen that we're breathing to sustain us, you better believe that it's resonating in that greenish yellow color and that frequency of love. So we're sustained by love. At any rate, the miracle note of the universe, natural solids, yawn, laughter, sighs, screams, all of these are really the holiest names. So I think we want to take a little break. Now, I'm going to break here because we're going to now go briefly not just into the history of disharmony. I've given you the kind of like a background on the good news. We'll come back to this in the third segment. But unfortunately, what we as dutiful humans who recognize an urgent need on this planet to do something significant to reverse the trend to degeneration and genocide. The next segment deals with this most challenging issues of our time. Probably you haven't heard all of them. Some of them you'll be familiar with. Most advanced ones I'll be covering as well, you're probably not familiar with. So take a break for 10 minutes, and then we'll come back for part 2, and then we'll finish part 2. I'll try to get through that as quickly as possible.